Just finishing this clean to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 368th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to pick up where we left off on Monday, covering all these spring sports, and then we are going to be joined by Houston County head coach Jeremy Edwards. I think the Bears are going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch throughout the 2024 season. Today's their final day off before their scrimmage on Friday. So we got Coach Edwards here now. Let's kick off the show. How's it going, Coach?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So did I get that right? Today's kind of the day off. You guys have been going at it in spring. You're going to maybe do a walkthrough tomorrow and then the big scrimmage on Friday.
Well, you know, Craig, the weather is unpredictable, and so last week we had a day that we got kind of rained out, if you will, some storms, and so we actually were going 5 days a week this week. So we had last night what we call the bear hunt, where we had a bunch of college coaches come and watch us practice at the stadium at 6 o'clock, and our fans and all the families were there. And then we'll practice today and tomorrow. They'll be a little bit abbreviated as we get ready for our inter-squad scrimmage on Friday.
And I like that, the bear hunt. And obviously you guys have some big names on this squad, but what's that been like for some of the underclassmen that want to have the opportunity to play at the next level, just to have these college coaches around practice?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with some of the guys that we have on our roster, we're getting a lot of through the school. And so it's opening up some doors for some guys, just by being here on the same team. Obviously, we had a couple individuals get some offers yesterday. One that got his first offer, from being a college coach that was here to watch our practice. And it was a pretty cool deal because they're able to come in and watch us and get on the field and just, they don't have to worry about getting to the other school and popping in and popping out. So it was a pretty cool deal we've done the last couple of years, and it's worked out well for our guys, getting them some opportunities for the next level.
And then let's talk about the last two seasons. Offensively, you've been an offensive coordinator. I think when people just think about Houston County, you guys are always great offensively. You got the speed, you got the receivers. What was about last year's offense, though, that you felt good about that you guys can build off of?
Well, I felt like, last year we did some good things. Obviously, statistically, we played an extra game my first year, with able to get to the next level as far as playoffs. But, last year I felt like we did some good stuff. We want to get our tempo going. We're a tempo-based team. I felt like last year we didn't play as fast as we liked to, as we did 4-22. So we're going to try and ramp that back up here. I think that helps us. But overall, we try to do what the defense gives us. And if they give us an opportunity to run the ball, we're going to run it. If we need to pass it, we pass it. And we feel like we're pretty balanced, and we got guys that can do both. So feel pretty good about this year and building off of last year.
Absolutely. And watching you guys last year, a guy that I really enjoyed seeing play was Ricky Johnson. He was so dangerous in the screen game for you guys. He could take anything, and break a tackle, taking the distance. He was a great blocker from what I saw also. He's since graduated, but who are you excited to see in the receiving corps this year?
Receivers this year, we've got really 6 guys that we feel pretty good about. Individual we moved over from defense that had played DB his whole career. He's going to be a senior. Derek Henderson's going to be a threat for us at the receiver position. Isaiah Mitchell is another one that transferred in last year from PG, and so he'll be a threat. He's a highly recruited guy. And then MJ Mathis is the third one. If you look at the film of him right now, he wears 14, which was what Ricky wore 2 years ago. It looks just like him. Sometimes I feel like Ricky's out there again, which is a good thing. So those 3, and then we've got some other guys that are going to play both ways. Trey Leary, he starts at DB. He'll play some receiver. Jordan Smith starts at DB. He'll play some receiver. And then Dylan Wallace is another. We really feel like we got 6, that we feel pretty good about. We can interchange throughout the game and keep them fresh.
Nice. And I don't know if you have the Houston County records memorized, but the 16 touchdowns by Ricky last year, was that a record?
I do not think it was not. It was not a record. There was a receiver back in the Jake Fromm days, I think, that had 17. So he was really close, I believe. But we try not to look back at all that stuff. But I'll check it out. That's interesting.
Yep. No, I mean that's a ton of touchdowns, especially in the 12 games. 16 in 12. It's phenomenal. How pleased were you last year just with the way your team started the season, and do you expect to really hit the ground running this year?
Yeah, we got off to a really good start last year. Obviously we have a pretty tough region, really tough region, maybe one of the toughest in the state. And, it didn't get any easier this year with adding Coffee County. So we're going to have 2 state champions in our region. But, the start that we got last year, we started off really well, and then we ran into Lee County, and that was, of course, you were at that game. You guys did that game for us at home. It was a great atmosphere and back and forth, and we just didn't make enough plays in the end and ended up, losing by, a touchdown. Then they got a late safety on us, and we had our opportunities, but from there I felt like we didn't do a great job of bouncing back from that disappointment. And that's on me as a head coach to make sure that I have my team prepared to respond to anything, it's all about your response. And we've talked a lot about that in the off season to try to get our mindset, being prepared for anything that comes our way, and just approaching it with a want-to-know mentality is kind of what we preach day in and day out here in our program.
Yep, and it turns out that was actually, in my opinion, like the first great football game we broadcasted all season last year. Some of the Corky games were a little lopsided. Some of the early week games were, and then that one really just set the tone. I felt like it was a toss-up game. I felt that you guys had probably the toughest region in the state, and you guys put up a lot of points, but every single team in that region is just outstanding defensively. So what do you feel about this year's region, just the fact that these teams are really rock solid on both sides of the ball?
Well, like I said, we lost Tiff County in our region and added Coffee, so it didn't get any easier, clearly. When you talk about Coffee County, historically really tough football team. We played them a lot in my years there at Warner Robins, so I'm familiar with the type of that they have. Thomas County Central's on a roll. Coach Rogers does a phenomenal job running that program, and defensively they've been elite the last couple years. So you look for them to be very strong. And then Lee County has just been a consistent winner since Coach Fabrizio has been there. So, with those 3, you got your work cut out. And, in our region, we have those teams back to back to back. So it's not going to be easy. Obviously, we have side and veterans who are also capable of doing some really good things with some athletes. I mean, there's no shortage of athletes in our county here. So we got our work cut out for us, and obviously we've got the luxury of starting off in the Mercedes-Benz and the Corky Kell. So that's the one that we're focused on right now, obviously, and then we'll get to the region and try to take care of business there.
Yep, and you guys will be playing Alpharetta. It's a team, I feel like they have a lot of size, some great playmakers on both sides of the ball. In terms of the Lee County game, something I wanted to point out. In that game, it felt like in the fourth quarter specifically, Lee County's defensive line, they were super aggressive. They were able to maybe disrupt you guys a little bit offensively. How big of an impact or focus have you put on just the offensive line this offseason, and how confident are you in that group?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some holes that we've got to fill on the offensive line for sure. One thing that a lot of people probably don't know about that week, Wednesday in practice of the Lee County game, we lost our starting tight end to a broken ankle, just a freak accident practice. And then during the game, in the beginning of the fourth quarter, we lost our other tight end, who was our long snapper running down on a punt. Just twisted his knee wrong in the turf. And so when we were down two tight ends there, it put us in a spot that was pretty tough for us. Lining up in 4 wides, 10 personnel, and they were able to get really wide with their ends and rush the passer, and it was a bad matchup for us. So from a personnel standpoint, that kind of hurt us in that game at the end. Obviously, we do have some guys. Peyton Joseph is a highly recruited play tackle for us. Hayes Ellerby is back this year, and Jaden Jackson. Those three did get, 2 of the 3 got some playing time last year. And then we've got 2 guys we got to break in pretty fast. And so obviously that's what you want to get all tuned up by the time you get to the region, and that's what we hope to do. But there's no shortage of getting them coached up and trying to get them ready and putting them in difficult situations in practice, and we'll just keep working at it in hopes that we'll get to the point where we need to be for the season.
And Peyton Joseph, he is a big bear. I think 6'4", 315 pounds. He's definitely blowing up in recruiting, but what are you excited about just with his senior season and his future in football?
Well, he's done such a great job. Again, he came in from Peach County and done a great job of blending in and buying into our culture and everything that we do here within our program. He's done a great job in the classroom. He stays really busy with the recruiting stuff. At one time was committed to Florida and now has kind of opened his recruiting back up. So he keeps us busy as coaches, with the recruiting and the traffic that he draws here with coaches coming in to see him. But great skill set, very violent player on the field, can do a lot of things. For us, he will play tackle, but he's an interior guy at the next level. He's trimmed down. He's not quite 315. He moves really well. Just really super excited about his senior season and what he'll be able to add to our offensive line for sure.
And we've talked about some of the speed you guys have offensively. In terms of just sheer strength, I think I've seen some guys putting up over 500 in the squats. Who has really been putting up the big numbers in the weight room so far?
Well, obviously, you probably wouldn't have guessed this, but one of our top power queeners is A.J. Hill, our quarterback. So he's 285 power queener. So he's pretty explosive when it comes to the weight room. He's done a heck of a job this offseason, really transforming his body and really putting in the time in the weight room and on the grass, just working on timing with receivers. Jaden Brown, we all call him Tank within our program. He's a nose guard for us. He's a 400-plus pound bench press guy, and he's a load. we're having a hard time blocking him in practice, which is a good thing because he's on our team, but he's tough to handle up front. Weston Ard is another really strong kid. He's got a couple offers. I think he's got up to 4 offers right now, Division I offers as a linebacker, super strong. We'll play some tight end. Yeah, I mean, I feel really good about the work that we do in our weight room. Our strength coach, Zach Teisler, does a great job of getting those guys ready for the season, and we'll continue to train for strength and speed.
And then you were talking about some guys that have moved from defense to offense in the receiving corps, but are there any other newcomers that maybe transferred in or will be getting their first varsity snaps this season?
Well, I mean, those guys that I mentioned that are receivers will start primarily on defense. Jordan Smith is a highly recruited safety. He's got several SEC offers. Had a great sophomore season last year, 3 picks in the first round against North Atlanta. He's really picked up in his recruiting, over the offseason. We had to move in corner, safety type guy, Daniel Battershell, who will come in and play some snaps for us from Roswell. That's pretty much. Cam Brown is an edge guy that picked up an offer last night at our bear hunt from UMass. He's a super explosive player, tremendous upside, good size. So there's going to be a lot of new faces if you come out to our to practice or you see us next year on the field. But I really like the mindset and the way that this team is gelling together as a family. Obviously, that's what you're looking for as a head coach, but there's a different bond about this team. Every team is going to be different, but I feel really positive about what we've got right now and the work they've been putting in and the attitude of all of these kids.
And then with how good your baseball team is, obviously those guys are rarely available for spring, but are you going to get any of those guys back, and how do you kind of fit them back in now that spring is wrapping up?
None of our players this year. We had a couple guys that played baseball last year that were seniors, so their career is now complete, and then they finished off with baseball. So we've got a couple kids that play, that played 9th grade baseball JV, but they've been with us the entire spring as their seasons have been done. So, that's something that we feel strongly about. We're all about 2-sport athletes in Houston County, and that comes from our administration, from our athletic director, who's big on that as well. And so, definitely not a program here where we draw a line in the sand. We've got some young guys that are tremendous baseball and football players in our younger levels of football, and it's exciting times here on Highway 96.
Yep, and then Benji Malcolm last year was your kicker. He was a senior. How has that position battle gone this offseason?
Right now, we've got a couple guys. Harrison Ludwig is one battling for the kicking job. We've got another Yas Patel is going to come in and kick. So we've got a couple guys, and we got some newcomers. Glory Clark, that is he moved in actually from overseas. So he's battling for it, just learning how to kick. He's got a super strong leg, and so we've got some prospects there. We're just going to let them battle it out through the summer and the early fall camp and see what we got, come first game in the bins.
And then with A.J. Hill, you mentioned his strength in the weight room with the power clean. He's one of the biggest quarterbacks. He's got all the checklists. He can throw it deep. What do you think just his senior season, something he can add to his body of work so far?
Well, I think he's worked really hard at, his mobility. And, he is 6'4.5", 6'5". He's a giant kid. He's 16 still. So I think he's still, growing into his body. really filled out his body now, and he's very mobile, a lot more mobile than people want to give him credit for. And so I look for him to, we'll have some design runs and things for him to let him tuck it and run, and he likes to do it. And so that's something that he's really worked at this offseason. But as far as pure passer throwing the ball, I mean, to me, it doesn't get any better. He's the best around. Forget all the rankings and all that stuff. I feel like he'll prove it on Friday night.
Yep, and then I think last year was the first season where he's had the rushing touchdowns. He had 3 of them. When I see a kid that big, I'm always like, oh, he needs to run the football. It looks like a Cam Newton with his stature out there. But what do you mean just with his mobility? Is it in the pocket, or what have you seen just this offseason?
Yeah, we work hard in drill work. I coach the quarterbacks, and so we work very hard, mobility in the pocket, but also we train all of our guys, really 12 months a year on speed. We have a timing system that we use, and we consistently are timing them and trying to better our numbers. And so from a running, sheer speed standpoint, he's quick enough. He's getting anywhere in 4.7 range consistently. Just getting the motor running quick has been his thing, and so just quick twitch things and things that we work on in the weight room. But not only that, but just the ability to move around in the pocket and create things, plays with his feet. And I've seen that throughout the first 7 practices we've had here in spring ball, and so it's good to see. And sometimes some of the explosive plays that you see in a game are off of scrambles, and he has the ability to do that.
Yep, and you were talking about the tempo you guys like to play with offensively. We've seen some games specifically with Alpharetta early in the season where they played Jefferson, where they just run so many snaps. It's like 70 plays offensively. What have you seen just with the potential of how high tempo your team's going to be able to play this year?
Well, it's really our identity, to be honest with you. We like to line up mainly in 11 personnel with a tight end, and on every snap, whether we're in an 11 personnel, tight end attached type alignment, or if we're in a 10 picture look, it doesn't matter to us. We're going to keep the same personnel on the field. We like to line up super wide to define the picture for the quarterback, to allow him to make good decisions in the run RPO game. And so, tempo is, to me, it gives each team that does it an advantage. If you're super talented and you go fast, it can make you elite. If you're average and you go fast, it can make you a good team. You can hide some deficiencies based on your tempo and how you can put pressure on another team, especially if they can't mimic it in practice. And so, in practice right now, I'm the ball spotter. So I spot the ball, try to get them going really fast. And so not only are we speeding up our tempo, I'm getting some cardio at the same time, so it's been kind of fun.
Absolutely, and I feel like the tempo is going to be on full display week 1 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be indoors. That's a positive just in August, how hot it's going to be outside. But I want to ask you about some of these other matchups. You guys are going to play at Perry. They also won a state title last year, so you got 3 on the schedule. That seems to have become a pretty solid rivalry just with the last 2 years specifically. What about that matchup's just big at displaying Middle Georgia football?
Yeah, but it doesn't get any bigger really for us. The attendance in the last 2 seasons has been tremendous. We split the gate, which has been awesome. Kevin Smith has done an excellent job with that program and been consistent over his time there as head coach and got him playing at a high level. And obviously they went on to win a state championship last year. So they did a great job, and I know they lose some pieces from their team last year, so they've got some holes that they got to fill as well. But it's a rival. So, you never know what you're going to get in a game like that. But last 2 years out of it, it's been a very, very close game. First year we had to go for 2 to win the game, and last year it was down to a touchdown. So it's back and forth. It's good for the community. It's good for our county, and we're all obviously, excited about that matchup. And you're right, we got to play 3 state champions. I don't know if there's anybody else that can say that.
Nope. And then Warner Robins also, they didn't win it last year, but they've got a ton of titles. In terms of this Friday scrimmage, is it? I saw that it was this Friday, but is it going to be a scrimmage within yourselves?
Yes, it's an inter-squad scrimmage. I kind of I felt like when I got an opportunity to be a head coach, I decided that you can add a little bit more stress or eliminate stress if you don't go play another opponent. We're on a 3-day install offensively and defensively, and so we're able to repeat our installs 3 times and then scrimmage at the end, and don't have to worry about game planning for somebody else and trying to get scout teams and things like that. We feel like we can get more reps as a program and get a little bit. So Friday night, we'll play the silver black game. It'll be basically offense versus defense, and we'll have some several 2-way guys that'll get snaps on both sides. We're also having our kids camp right now, and pretty cool deal for our kids camp. All the kids are involved in that. At halftime of our spring game, we'll be in their own flag football game, and so those parents will be excited to see their kids down at the stadium on the grass getting a chance to play too. So it's just a big community event, and just trying to put this thing up as it can be.
Yep, and it's funny you bring that up. I have a feeling that you're going to bring a lot of those young guys up to Mercedes-Benz to kick this thing off. How big of a crowd do you think you guys are going to be able to bring just to get this 2024 season started?
Selling tickets for that event. We're going to bring that's involved in the Corky Kell this year, so it's a great honor for our program, and we want to make sure we represent Middle Georgia and Houston County in a positive way, and hopefully come away with a victory.
Yep, and then last point with Northside and Warner Robins, they've been great at representing Middle Georgia. Last year, Perry became just the latest to win a state title. What are just the overarching goals this season for your team heading into 2024?
Well, obviously, this is a game where you've got to stay healthy. You've got to stay healthy. We got to keep obviously, we've got to fill those holes on the offensive line. We've got to play well up front. We've got, like you mentioned, our in the kicking game, we've got to find a kicker. We hope to find somebody that can, pin them deep or put in the end zone, which obviously helps our defense. But, early on, I feel like our defense is going to carry us. We returned several faces on that side of the ball. And so, based on what I'm seeing right now in our, competitions in practice, they look to be pretty strong and schematically very sound. And I got to brag on my coaching staff. I feel like I got an elite coaching staff. And so those guys they work very hard at what they do. They're all passionate about these players, about this program, and about their craft. And so they consistently work hard to be the very best that they can and be good role models for these kids. And so I feel like if we can stay healthy and if we can, keep the right mindset that we've preached all off season, I feel good about our chances this year of, getting off to a good start, getting into region play, and we'll see what happens.
Yep, and then real quick, you mentioned the coaching staff. Has it been the same for all 3 seasons since you've been there, and who's your defensive coordinator?
Yeah, the staff has remained intact over the last 3 seasons, with the exception of now this is rare now. I've lost 2 coaches to become assistant principals. I don't know why they'd want to do something like that, Craig, to be honest with you, but they 2 have left to do that. Other than that, my running back coach this year, he came up from Florida. and then he's going back to Florida to get married. So I've replaced I just bumped somebody up from the 9th grade staff that will come up and coach. Jeremy Ammons will coach our running backs. He's done a phenomenal job. And my defensive coordinator is Jordan Singletary. He was with us at Warner Robins. He came over with me, went job. He was the DC there as well. He does a tremendous job. And so, schematically, I feel like we're very sound on that side of the ball, and we got a really good staff.
Awesome. Well, Coach Edwards, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck closing out this week in spring, and we can't wait to see you guys in 2024.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet. All right. So there goes Coach Edwards, and I think Houston County this year, it is going to be a special one with A.J. Hill. He burst to the scene just as a freshman. He's so big. He's got such great arm talent, and there's a reason he's one of the highest rated quarterbacks in the country. He was mentioning the mobility, and I think that is going to be a key. He had the 3 touchdowns last season, didn't rush for a touchdown his freshman or sophomore season. He's definitely got the athleticism, but I think another thing, the longest career run by A.J. Hill through all 3 years is 20 yards. I know he has it in him to break those tackles. Obviously, we want to see him get down after he picks up the first down, get out of bounds. He's going to be playing a lot of physical teams, but I really think with his ability to throw the ball deep, if he's able to get that secondary way back 40 yards deep, trying to cover all these speedy receivers, he's going to be able to make defenses pay with his legs. If he adds that to his game, he is going to be a very dangerous quarterback. Obviously, he can see over the offensive line, even though they're huge. He can get the ball out. Thought that was also interesting. Last year, they had some injuries at the tight end position. Didn't hurt him too bad in the passing game because they were so deep at the receivers. They were able to go 4 wide, but that probably did impact them on third down, just with some of these solid defensive fronts like Lee County, where we saw them really pin their ears back late in that game. They're going to open up with Alpharetta. That'll be a Saturday game at Mercedes-Benz. Houston County has been in the Corky Kell before. They were in it when Jake Fromm was a quarterback. Those games were actually played at Mercer. This will be the first ever appearance by Alpharetta. Then they're going to play Effingham County. Coach John Ford, the former Buford coach, the former Roswell coach that led them to back-to-back finals. They got Perry on the road next. That's the team they've actually opened the season with the last 2 years. They've both been shootouts, very exciting games. They got Warner Robins after that. That will obviously be a huge matchup. Warner Robins is completely loaded this year, and they actually got a transfer quarterback from, let me see who that was. I had their coach on last week. I'll think of it during the break, but they got a transfer quarterback to come in. And there's a lot of movement just in middle Georgia with those quarterbacks. It's pretty amazing. Peach County to Perry last year with Coulter Ginn. Judd Anderson from Jones County to Warner Robins. They've really moved around. But then in the region, they're going to have veterans. They're familiar with them. They've been in the same region the last few years. Northside, Warner Robins, Coffee. They're the newcomer coming from 5A. Well, they're still in 5A, but the classification shifted. They're going to have Thomas County Central again, and then Lee County to close the season on the road. So probably when you look at their schedule, they're going to have at least 6 teams in that top 10. But I think just the way they've started the last few years, they started out really hot offensively, and then this year, Coach Edwards said he's confident that the defense will be able to carry them early. Another key for Houston County with that offense and tempo, they're able to run a lot of snaps and wear out the defense. And then if the Houston County defense can get some short possessions, force some 3-and-outs, get the ball back into the offense's hands, that is really going to help wear down the defense and make them a good team in closing ball games out. But that's Houston County. They've got a scrimmage on Friday. We'll see who the backup quarterback is, see how the defense does, and see who is going to step up at receiver to replace Ricky Johnson, who had 16 touchdowns last season, which is pretty incredible. But that's it for now. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Thank our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me, can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back, guys. So before we move on, let's talk a little bit more about Houston County. So Peyton Joseph, last year, 6'4", he was listed 315 pounds. Coach Edwards said he's slimmed down a little bit. He'll be playing tackle this season, which is going to be huge, just protecting the outside with all these elite pass rushing teams. Obviously, he'll be huge in the run game as well, and that's where he projects at the next level for an interior lineman. So he's going to play tackle this season, but he's ranked as the number 6 interior lineman in the country, 4-star, nearly a 5-star, and he has a ton of offers, 26 so far. I'm sure he'll be making some official visits coming up. He had another strong season in track and field with the shot put, and certainly he'll be one of the highest rated players to take the field in this year's Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. Also, I want to give Coach Edwards some credit in that incredible game where we went far outside of Metro Atlanta last year for our broadcast. That was one of the things we wanted to emphasize. Obviously, we cover a lot of Atlanta schools, but we want to make sure the whole state's represented. We went down to the Houston County Lee County game, and it was well worth it, even though it was a very long drive. And Houston County did have control of that game. The reason Lee County was able to win, Osamane Chroma, Lee County's running back, had an absolutely monster performance, rushed for over 300 yards. He was very hard to bring down and just kept answering anytime Houston County was able to score. Houston County did hold a slightly late, and then we had to do our third quarter interview, and we only had the one camera. So Coach Edwards, right when he's trying to fire his team up for the fourth quarter, I had to pull him off the sideline, go all the way to the other side of the field, and I know that was an inconvenience, but he did it, which I was very grateful for. And then later on in the season, and some of these other games, there were some coaches that just told me flat out no. And so Coach Edwards, I appreciate him doing that, and we have changed things this year, so we will not be doing that right in the heat of battle. So I wanted to let him know that and thank him once again. All right, so let's talk about the baseball state finals that have been set real quick. I'm going to have this preview posted at scoreatl.com as soon as the show's over. I could do it right now, but we will wait. I'll do it right at 1. So these are going to be the championship matchups. It will start tomorrow. There's only one series that starts on Thursday. We're going to have 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and then 1 starts on Monday. So it's going to go at minimum from Thursday to Monday. We might have a Tuesday game if it goes to game 3. And let's just go over. There's a lot of teams that are returning that won titles last year. A couple that won for the first time last year with Prince Avenue Christian. And then some teams that haven't ever been to the finals that are trying to basically take down the Giants. All right, so let's start with this preview real quick. So 8 thrilling series. This will close out the 2023-24 school year. These are the last state championships of the year. In Class 5A, 2-time defending state champion Loganville and number 1 ranked Cartersville will take the field on Thursday for a doubleheader. Cartersville will have a shot at the team's 7th all-time state title, but first since 2013. They moved past Ware County in a huge way in the semis, 11-2, 10-0. I was pretty shocked by that just because Ware County has been so solid. Cartersville has some of the best pitching in the state. It looks like their hitting was on point as well. Cartersville, they won their titles 2013 the most recently, but also 2001, 2, 3, 8, and 9. Loganville has a shot at the program's 8th state title and 6th in the past 7 seasons. They swept Kell in the last round, and Kell was coming off some pretty big victories. They beat Villa Rica in 3 games, then had another 3-game win in the quarterfinals. And they had a 5-2 win game 1, 8-2 game 2. So both teams coming off strong semifinals. All right, then on Friday, obviously if it goes to game 3, that will be the first game played on Friday, and then we'll have the start of these other series. The action is going to be at 3 locations. You got Coolray Field with Class 5A, 6A, and 7. Rome is hosting 3A and 4A, and then Georgia Southern's J.I. Clement Stadium has Class A Division 1, 2, and Class 2A, the final one. All right, so Friday, this will see 3-time defending state champions take the field in all 3 series. In 7A, reigning state champion Lowndes will open its doubleheader with Grayson at Coolray Field. And this is actually a rematch from last year's playoffs. We'll talk about in a sec, but in Rome, that's going to be Class 3A Harlem. They're facing Calvary Day with an opportunity to win back-to-back titles and take that back to Augusta. And then Prince Avenue Christian in Class A Division 1. They're taking on Tallulah Falls, and they won their first ever state title last year. In Class 4A, Stars Mill and Cherokee Bluff will meet in the 4A finals and make it the second straight year that the championships have been a Region 4 versus Region 1 battle. Last year it was North Oconee and LaGrange. This year, instead of North Oconee, it's Cherokee Bluff. Cherokee Bluff earned the number 1 seed over the defending state champion Titans and advanced to their first ever final. And then Stars Mill, they earned the number 1 seed over LaGrange. So same region matchup, but these are the teams that were able to defeat those finalists from last year and then advance. Stars Mill lost to North Oconee 15-5 and 14-1 in last year's semis, but they avenged that loss last week in the same round with a 12-8, 13-1 sweep. Stars Mill, as we've mentioned, based on strength of schedule and the record, have the highest calculation in the state this season. The Panthers have swept in each round of the playoffs. Cherokee Bluff, they swept each of the first 3 rounds, but then they had to go to a 3rd game against Holy Innocents. Why is that important? Because they've proven they have the depth at pitching to be able to come out in a Game 3, and they took that one 5-1 over Holy Innocents. So if this Stars Mill and Cherokee Bluff does go to Game 3, Cherokee Bluff has had success in the extended series. All right, Lowndes won its third all-time state title last year and first since 2000 with a 3-2, 5-2 sweep over Parkview, and they've returned the core of that team to the finals with an opportunity to win consecutive titles for the first time. Challenging the Vikings on Friday will be the number 3 seeded Grayson Rams. So yeah, Grayson is the number 3 seed because they fell to Parkview and Brookwood in region play. But Grayson just had the series win over Brookwood in the semifinals, so they avenged that. I think that's important when you look at Grayson as a 3 seed because they just beat the team that got the number 2 seed. So definitely don't let that number 3 seed fool you. They responded to those early losses in the region tremendously, and then their playoff run has been incredible. They beat Walton in 3 games. They beat Brookwood in 3 games, and they can steal one against Lowndes. The pressure is definitely going to be on. That will be at Coolray. All right, so Grayson battled past Walton in the quarterfinals, took down Brookwood in 3 games. 3-2 victory in the first one. They lost 4-0 in game 2 and then got a 4-3 win. Brookwood was coming off a big victory over Buford. They went to 12 innings in game 2 to extend the series, closed out the Wolves in game 3, but Grayson was able to get another solid road win. All right, similar to Lowndes and Grayson in 7A, Class 2A's Saturday night doubleheader will have Charlton County, which is the defending state champion team from South Georgia, just like Lowndes, in search for a 4th-time All-State title, taking on a Lanier County team, which is like Grayson, looking for its first ever state title. Class 6A will also begin its series on Saturday. In Class 6A, Pope and Etowah were both defeated by Houston County in last year's playoffs. Pope fell in the state finals. Etowah fell in the semis. Pope was able to avenge the loss to Houston County in last week's semifinals. They swept the Bears at home 7-4 and 1-0. And then Etowah had its own really impressive win over Blessed Trinity, an outstanding team this season. They swept them at home 2-1 in game 1, 4-0 in game 2. And then Class 2A, let me pull this up real quick. You have defending state champion at North Cobb Christian. Last year was their first ever state title, and they advanced. Hold up one sec. They advanced past Rockmart in a very close series, and they it will be their second year in the finals. They beat Mount Perrin Christian last year in 3 games. So there you have it for the baseball. That preview will be up at scoreatl.com. All right, so let's look at some previews of the action real quick. All right, for Lowndes, the big star on the mound is going to be Matthew Kerrigan. He helped the Vikings close out game 2 last year against Parkview. But we will have all that coverage starting tomorrow with Class 5A at scoreatl.com. All right, let's hit one more break and we'll close out the show on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back. So, with baseball being the last state championships handed out this year, we have the Directors Cup coming up, which will basically be handed out to the schools that had the best overall school year. They calculate the girls' titles and the boys. They give you who has been the best boys athletic school, who's been the best girls, and then if you win all three, that's considered the Triple Crown. So currently, I have the totals right now. All right, in Class 7A, leading the way is Buford at this point. They've got 909 points. Mill Creek is behind them with 831. For Mill Creek, they got 90 points for cheerleading this year with a second place finish, 80 points in girls cross country, 63 in boys cross country, 53 for flag football, 70 for football, 75 for fast pitch softball girls, 25 for volleyball, 25 for girls basketball, 0 in boys basketball. They didn't make the playoffs. 90 points with dance, 66 in swim and dive, 80 in boys wrestling. This was their best ever finish in wrestling this year. Baseball, 0 points. They missed out on the playoffs. But that's interesting. Mill Creek has an opportunity to take this year's title. They would not win the Triple Crown, though. The boys are in a distance, but they do have a good chance at it. In terms of Buford, they got 638 points on the girls, 271 on the boys. They've got 909 total. Looks like they are going to take it in 7A this year. And then you have Carrollton, also a contender with 922. So it looks like the top three in 7A is going to be Carrollton, Buford, and Mill Creek. Let's see where Walton's at. Walton's at 861. So they're around there too. Sorry, this isn't in order. One sec. All right, let's look at 6A real quick. All right, so tied. All right, this is important. Tied for first right now, and it looks like it will go to Pope because they have an opportunity to win the baseball state title. 813 points. You have Pope and North Forsyth. North Forsyth got their 100 points in competition cheerleading. Pope took it in flag football. Second place finish in volleyball. And solid finishes in wrestling as well. But there are still some sports to tab into that, so I thought it was going to be more updated than that. In Class 5A, Jefferson holds a pretty significant lead for the 5A Directors Cup. In Class 4A, North Oconee is definitely going to win. They've got 12,000 points right now. Credit to their basketball team winning the first ever state title this year against a loaded Class 4A field. In Class 3A, Wesleyan went into the spring with a slight lead after sweeping the lacrosse state titles. I feel like that is going to guarantee them this year's Class 3A. In Class 2A, Model is leading the way with over 100 points over the rest of the competition. And then in Class A, Division 1, this one is extremely close, but you got Whitfield Academy and Mount Vernon are up there. So I think people need to start keeping an eye on Mount Vernon. They are very dedicated to their athletics and have been getting it done across the board. And then Slide County in Class A Division II has also had a tremendous year, and that would be huge for that school. They come runner-up in a lot of sports this season, but winning the Directors Cup would be a significant victory. All right, let's look at golf real quick. So these state championships will be the 20th through the 21st. So that's going to be coming up this weekend and next week also. We will have that preview up after this week. We've got sectionals and then the state finals. And we'll see who gets the low score and the team titles. All right, let's see if anything else is going on at scoreatl.com. All right, so we have a story that was posted yesterday. Okefenokee County Club prepared to test Class 5A's medal at the GHSA Golf Championships. The Class 5A and boys and girls will conclude their season at Okefenokee Country Club in Blackshear. That's in Pierce County. A Joe Lee designed course ready to challenge every big club in the golfer's bag. And man, wouldn't it be cool if one day these golf state championships were televised? Obviously, that'd be very difficult, but maybe with the ability to have portable cameras, it could be done. But that would be very exciting to see. Okefenokee plays 6,771 yards from the back tees. It was designed and opened in 1977. We got lots of quotes from the coaches in this story. Then on the boys' side, defending champion Cambridge is ranked number 2 behind top-ranked Cartersville. So we'll see if Cambridge is able to win another state title. The golf rankings for the boys: Cartersville 1, Cambridge 2. For the girls, McIntosh 1, Northview 2. So we have the rankings up. Then in Class 4A, North Oconee has been clearly the best golf team in the state, in my opinion. The girls and boys have been getting it done every year. But we'll have baseball and golf this next week to close out the season. And then on Friday's show, we'll get into the final rankings for soccer, lacrosse. Obviously, baseball will have to wait. And then we will have our Players of the Year announced. That will go through the AJC, the boys and girls track athletes of the year. Same for lacrosse, baseball, and soccer. But that is all we have time for today. We're going to have coverage of some of these spring scrimmages, so be sure to follow us on social media and Twitter at the Score Atlanta account. And we will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock for Keeping It Real with Najee Wilkins. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and hope you guys have a good one.